attention, notions when I need action. Said it, so do it. Come now, believe you mean it.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook and Harmonious World is an independent podcast that includes conversations with musicians and those with an interest in music to find out what they're doing that makes the world a little more harmonious. You can find out more by looking on my website, hilaryseabrook.co.uk. I'm all over social media. So do connect with me and share these episodes, either this one or another one that you like. I've interviewed nearly 300 people now. On the episode today is singer-songwriter Ola Onabule, who has a new album out with guitarist Nicholas Mayer called Proof of Life, and what you're listening to now is the title track. We're approaching the 300th episode of Harmonious World, and that's going to be a very exciting one. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy listening to my conversation with Ola Onabule.
What are you saying? How am I lost again? Stick to the meaning, what's already said. If you're deceiving, we're headed out again. Far from believing, where faces lying dead.
I'm really grateful that you've been able to join me. Thanks so much.
Pleasure. Thanks for asking.
So your album, Proof of Life, is a duo with Nicholas Mayer.
Yeah.
Although you've got a band behind you as well.
Yes.
Okay, so explain the story about how this happened.
Okay, so lockdown during the pandemic, no one's doing any gigs, no one's getting out and about. And so I did the thing that a lot of musicians were doing, which was they were doing live streams from home. But I've got a reasonably sized live room in the studio, and that's where I record the albums. And I thought, why not have the band round? We do what we normally do at a gig, but this time cameras are trained on us, and that was all going very well and good. And then the guitarist who was doing the gig, who'd done about 3 or 4 of them, the live streams, got COVID himself and dropped out. And so frantically asking around for a guitarist, and the double bass player, a chap called Jakub Czerwinski, said, Nicholas is the man, he'll come in, he'll do the stuff, and, you know, there won't be any kind of downtime learning songs, etc., because he knows lots of tunes. And that's exactly what happened. He showed up, it was brilliant, and we were off to the races.
Excellent. And now you've got Proof of Life, which came out in June. Did you compose these tracks with Nicholas?
I did, yes. We sat together in this room. I would listen to him strum away on the guitar, and I would mumble things, stream of consciousness to myself with a dictaphone running, and we did that sometimes for 2, 3, 4 hours in a row, and then he would go home and I'd listen back to the dictaphones and kind of try to glean, valuable bits out of what had happened, and form them into songs. I'd, check out what I was mumbling, words, if they were intelligible in any way. I'd figure out what it was I seemed to be singing or talking about, and fashion songs out of them. And then I'd send them back to him, and he would, evolve them, develop them in some way, shape or form. And we just kept that going back and forth until they were fully formed songs.
And of course, that's the joy, isn't it, of technology, is that you can share tracks and all contribute together.
Yeah, it really is valuable. I'm not a formally trained musician, so I can't read notes on a page so on a manuscript sort of thing. So the technology really helps me. It means that I can fashion my ideas and send fairly fully formed demos to Nicholas, who can then interpret them for the musicians. He can put them on sheet music and make them.
Yeah. And actually, I don't think that's unusual for singers, especially.
Yeah, I know it is. You're absolutely true. I mean, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that seems to be the way for us singer
Yeah.
types.
And you work with somebody who has the musical understanding, who can then share that with the other members of the band.
Yes, and he he's very, very sophisticated in that regard. And when we were running the sessions in the studio, he was very kind of he was very eagle-eyed about making sure that things were being done exactly as we would have wanted them. And I was so thankful to have him there, because it was all mumbo jumbo to me.
But you knew what the sound was of the song.
Yeah, it's that weird disconnect between knowing what it is but not being able to convey it to someone else, and you end up using words like, can you make it a bit more orange, or and stuff like that. And he can say, no, it's a B flat minor with a so and so seventh flat, that and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I love that, the way of people working together musically, but having different language, and it still works.
It's amazing how we find our way to finish songs, because sometimes, so in that particular regard, so you've got the business of the technicalities of writing music, but also you've got the other stuff where you're coming from different music traditions, different influences, different backgrounds, and yet we find our way to this incredible universal language.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It really is. It's magic.
It really is. I always say to people, there's only 12 notes.
Yeah.
How does this stuff happen?
Yeah.
But that's actually what Harmonious World is all about, helping musicians sort of explain that process.
Yeah, it is something we're going to need to drill down on even more in this age of AI, where, we've got this thing that at first presents as competition for what we do, and it's easy to kind of get into a kind of siege mentality and let's kind of, put up our defenses and fight and turn our attention to this thing and fight that thing, rather than do the thing that music is, which is continue to communicate on a human level. Let AI do its thing, but us get together and talk and chat and tell human stories. And the more human we are, the more it has to play catch up with us.
That is very wise. You're absolutely right.
I think so. I think that's the way forward. That's the way I've decided I'm gonna approach this whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. So I really like Proof of Life. It's a great album.
Oh, thank you, Hilary.
The track that I like the best, because that's what we always get to talk about, because it's my podcast.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, 2 scoops. First of all, I want to play a bit of it for my audience.
Okay.
Now tell me, how did that get written?
Well, Two Scoops was coming to the back end of the album. We'd written a number of songs and we'd made a choice. Um, Nicholas knows that one of my favorite tunes to do live is Chick Corea Spain,
Oh, yeah.
which I absolutely adore, and I get to do a scat solo in in the middle of the song, in keeping with the Al Jarreau version of the
Yeah.
song with the lyrics and everything. And so he said, let's do something like that. Let's do something where you get to do your scatting, because I don't think a lot of people know that you scat and that you enjoy it as much as you do. And he was of the opinion that I did a reasonably good job of it. So we wrote a song that allowed me to just kind of scat, do that thing. And then he played an amazing guitar solo in it as well.
Exactly. And
Mm.
it's got an element of fun alongside that musicianship.
Yeah, that was the thing I wasn't quite expecting. I thought we would come up with, when he said that, I thought we'd come up with something a bit, taking ourselves seriously and making it very kind of technical and self-conscious. But we ended up with this song that really was a lot of fun for us to kind of write and play, and even the fact that before I'd done any scatting, we'd come up with the title Two Scoops.
Okay.
So I had that in mind, and I threw that in there a couple of times. I don't know if people could, they're almost like Easter eggs. You can find the
Yeah.
scoops in the scat solo that I did. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Unusual
great
choice.
stuff.
I wouldn't have imagined that would be, would catch anyone's attention. Thank you.
That's okay. I take listening to these albums very seriously.
Obviously, because it's the
And
last tune as well. That means you listen to the end.
well, yeah. Can you tell my listeners a little bit about your background?
Uh, I, uh, I'm generally described as British Nigerian, and I guess that's because I was born here and lived in Britain till the age of 7, and then spent 10 years in Nigeria in the formative years. Came back to school and university, and the intention was that I would head back home. Um, Once I'd qualified as a lawyer, and then I discovered jazz, and checked out of law school and started playing music, much to the delight of my parents.
I
Um, they were so happy.
Were they
Not.
actually?
No, no,
No.
no, no. Not. I sold that too well.
Yeah.
No, they weren't in the least bit happy. But yeah, and have been doing that ever since. And have put out a range of 10 albums to my name, but I've also co-produced albums for other artists. So maybe something like 12 or 13 albums in total.
And you're based in the UK still.
Yeah.
How do you find the UK jazz scene?
Um, I'm kind of lucky in that I do as much work in the UK as I do everywhere else around Europe and the world. And, so in a weird kind of way, it's almost like I have a limited experience of jazz in the UK. I'll do the very occasional Ronnie's, the very occasional sometimes a special gig will come up, something to do with, I don't know, the Royal Festival Hall or something like that, and I'll get to do my thing there. But I'm usually, traveling all over the place. So I have I have an experience of music which um it's a bit of a treat, really. I get to find myself in a different place with people from all over the world and experience music on a very universal level. And so Britain kind of ties into that. It's just another flavor of the many that I'm very lucky enough to sample.
Fantastic. And you've obviously got a very sophisticated setup behind you that I can see.
Yeah. Yes, I'm a bit of a gear nerd. And I got into making my own records, very, very earlier on. I learned how to, work the software, and then you become addicted and buy way, 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 way more than you need, and
Yeah.
and then have to justify it by making albums.
Yeah. Well, great. There is an element of your influences and Nicholas's world music influences where they collide and coincide. How did you discover that?
I think because we'd both listened to one another's albums, and I put a lot of West African influenced references into the music I play. And Nicholas, who's married to a Turkish lady, is kind of steeped in Turkish guitaring traditions and the unusual, very sophisticated scales that they play in. And so we were very conscious of looking for a way in which we could merge. We thought that would be very interesting. Find some middle ground between West Africa, Turkey, and Switzerland, where Nicholas is from.
Yeah.
And it sounded like the most impossible, it sounded like Mission Impossible. But we thought, let's do it. Let's throw it in there, and what's the worst that could happen? And so we've got a couple of songs. The title track, Proof of Life, is very much in the Turkish, I think he called it Makam tradition. And then I've got a song which is kind of like a West African juju high life melody. That he also, and we kind of challenge one another to do something with one another style. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on Harmonious World.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Lovely, lovely chatting to you about it and about music in general. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for that episode of Harmonious World, with a conversation with Ola Onabule about his album Proof of Life with guitarist Nicholas Mayer. What you're listening to now is True Story from the middle of the album. So thank you for joining me once more for Harmonious World, and I hope you have a very, very good week. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.